Good morning and welcome back. Today is Thursday. We are one day closer to Friday, the weekend. And if you're someone after my own heart, we got a lot to look forward over the weekend. You've got college football, you've got days off, you've got time with the family, you've got a lot of things, hopefully, to look forward to. But we're almost there. We've got just one more day, and then we are to the weekend. I want to get a little serious today for some good reasons. For reasons that, of course, we'll dive into and discuss. But because a message is being portrayed right now in the media, across social media, amongst people who are politically in tune. And I feel the need to speak on it, to share my thoughts, and to discuss it, to break it down, so that you, the listener, the viewer, you can come up with your own opinion on the matter. Which is, of course, always my goal with any episode or anything that we talk about. Present you with the facts, the figures, to break it down for you so it's easy to digest, but to then share my opinion. And in no way, shape, or form is my goal to influence yours. It's never been my goal. It will never be my goal. My goal, though, is to share with you my thoughts and my opinion so that it helps you to better form your own. So with that, we've got a lot to discuss. We're going to dive right into it. So let's get started. I'm Bryce Wheeler, and this is We the Future. Welcome back. Let's go. I want you to think back to about a year ago and a week. It's election night in America. If you were like me or are like me, you were glued to the television. I was watching multiple different broadcasts, multiple different news agencies, both independent and, your mainstream, watching the presidential election results trickle in. And me, being somebody who voted for Trump, both in 2020 and 2024, you were hopeful. As you saw the states report, as you saw news agencies call each states for Trump, you started to get really excited. Because what you voted for, if you voted for Trump, what you voted for was happening. You were voting for a sense of urgency, a sense of this time it was going to be different, or this time it would be different. The election results came in, they were finalized. Trump won in a landslide victory, and he won the popular vote. They called it a mandate. He had all of these things that he ran on that he promised to do starting day one in office. He said things like he was going to give illegal immigrants 50 days to leave the country or else he was coming after them. He told us that he was going to cut the deficit by $2 trillion, that Elon was already ready to come to the White House, to jump in, to start this office that he was going to call Doge and make the entire government a well-oiled machine, smooth, ready to operate, and make it just way more efficient. He was going to eliminate the Department of Education, He was going to deport millions of illegal immigrants that flooded the country during the previous administration. He was going to end the war in Ukraine in less than 24 hours. I want you to remember all of that. I want those feelings to come back to you right now. I want you to remember how it made you feel. I want you to remember what it was like. I want you to remember why you voted for him. He promised us and told us that as we vote for him, he was going to usher in and bring in the golden age of America, that his cabinet and all of the members of his administration, they were there, they were coming in, they were going to help. Now, the next thing I'm going to say, I want to be extremely clear about. Now, here's my plea, here's my ask from you, the listener, the viewer, however you're seeing this. Even if I don't know you and you're just listening to this for the first time, I want you to listen to the entire episode. Not because I want more viewers, not because I want more clicks, more likes. I could care less about that. I want you to listen to the entire episode so that you understand why I am about to say the following. I regret voting for Trump in last year's election. Now, I don't regret my vote because I wish I would have voted for Kamala Harris. I truly believe that would have been horrible for the country. Worse than what we're currently getting, worse than what we've ever gotten. I don't regret my vote because I wish I would have voted for a Democrat. I don't regret my vote because I am a Democrat. It's not because I hate Trump, because I hate the Republican Party. It's because if one thing has become clear or has become even more clear in the last few months, it's that this term with Trump has been nothing different than his first term in office. It's nothing new. Trump and his cabinet, in my opinion, are selling out America, selling out Americans, and they have proven that the MAGA movement is dead. Now, you're going to see this a lot if you're paying attention in the media. And it's something that I haven't been thinking about this short term. This isn't just I woke up today, saw the news, and decided that I was, agreeing with people who have said what I just said. It's something that I have felt for a while. Now, to be fair, Trump's only been in office since January of this year. But it's something that I started to feel kind of near the end of his election and his campaign, and especially the start or the beginning of his term in office this year. And even more so recently with the death of and the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and what's come to light in the media and what hasn't been fulfilled in terms of promises. Now I know, and I'm fine with this, that there's going to be somebody or multiple people who don't like my take, don't like my opinion, who comment that, yeah, sure, okay, you can call me a Democrat. You can say that I'm abandoning the movement of MAGA. You can say whatever you want. But keep in mind, my ask of you is just to hear me out. Let me present why I feel like the MAGA movement is dead. Let me present why I feel like that's the reality that we are living in. Let me present to you what I feel is the solution. And if you listen to me all the way through and you still don't agree with me, that's fine. My goal isn't to persuade you to agree with me. If this show was listened to by 50, 100, 5,000 people, and every single one of you agreed with me, we wouldn't really have a lot to discuss And I would like to have discussions where we disagree with each other. I feel like that is exactly what this country needs most in order to heal and come together to ultimately put the MAGA goal of making America great again. That's what we need. So with that, here's why I feel the MAGA movement is dead. We have seen Trump promise things during his campaign that he has completely done a 180 on, reversed, retracted, completely taken a different stance, and some of them completely just try to bury and mislead and even gaslight us, the American people, on. For example, the Epstein files. We were told throughout the entire campaign that Trump, when he got into office, was going to put in Kash Patel and Dan Bongino to completely overhaul the FBI and be able to release the Epstein files so that we could have proof and we could hold all of these corrupt politicians, actors, athletes, business men, women, all these people who were a part of that horrible, horrible group of people that were affiliated with Epstein, that he was going to release the files so that we could hold everybody accountable. It even got to the point where we had both mainstream media influencers and independent news influencers at the White House holding up binders of the Epstein files and the Epstein clientele list to cameras who are outside hiding in bushes on the White House lawn, ready to take their photo so that we, the American people, could be told that accountability is coming, and it's because of Trump. And then if you paid attention to it, you fast forward a couple of weeks, we were told by Pam Bondi that the Epstein list was on her desk, ready to be reviewed, and then it never existed. And now if we, as Trump supporters or MAGA supporters or just Americans, question or bring up the Epstein list, we are told that we need to move on. We are told that it never existed. Why are we still talking about it? Let's move on and talk about something else. That's literally what Trump has done countless times when asked about the list from media. So there's that. We also have no mass deportations happening. Now, there's a key word in that sentence, no mass deportations. And I get we've got ICE agents on the streets. Hell, they're even in my own backyard here in Ogden, Utah. And they're deporting the ones that are criminals and that are the most vile and the ones that have done heinous crimes and the worst of the worst illegal immigrants are the ones that are being targeted first. And hey, I appreciate that. I get that. I get the reason why. I'm for it, of course, hence the reason why I voted for Trump. But this mass illegal immigrants that were going to be deported in the masses, it's not happening. It's not happening. Instead, what we're getting is, in my mind, I'm not going to say smoke and mirrors, but it's basically just dangling a piece of something in front of our face so that we can see the singular piece of candy and forget that we were promised a whole piñata, for lack of better terminology, but you get the sentiment. Instead, what we're getting right now, especially as of recently, we're getting Trump and politicians that are bowing down to the needs of Israel, that are starting wars in new places, continuing wars in other places, who are fighting on behalf of other countries, who are shutting down our own government to fulfill their corrupt, twisted agenda. That's what we're getting. So the case that I'll present is one that, in my opinion, shines the light on why I feel the MAGA movement is dead. Now I get, and there's going to be somebody that says it, and they're going to be right, so I'll say it right now before you do. We still have 3 years left in this administration and in this term from Trump. I get that. A lot can happen in 3 years. But if what I'm about to talk about is what we've seen, not even in the first year, to me, the writing's on the wall. The next 3 years aren't going to be any different. If it sucks for the first year, it's probably going to suck for the next 3 years. It's probably not going to get better. Now, I know there's the whole, phrase, it's always going to get worse before it gets better. When it comes to politics, it's usually not the case. It may be the case for pistachio ice cream. After the first few bites, you don't like it, but then you get to the point where you do like it, and now it's your favorite ice cream, and you're wondering why you feel like you're well into your 60s liking pistachio ice cream. Now, I get that. But when it comes to politics, usually if it sucks, it's going to suck for a while. Usually if it's not getting better, it's probably never going to get better. But let's talk about how we got here. Okay, let's try to be a little bit the glass is half full before we're a little more. The glass is half empty. We were promised by Trump that if we voted for him this term, for some people, if we voted for him a third time, that we would be able to help Trump usher in and bring in the golden age of America, the golden age of the American dream. So you remember all of that, and now I want to bring in what happened recently with an interview between Trump and Fox News' Laura Ingraham. Now, this interview comes a week after Republicans lose the midterms. We lose the governor race in Virginia by double digits. We lose the mayor race in New York City to a Democratic socialist. In Virginia, they voted in a Democrat as their new attorney general, who literally and openly was on record saying that he wanted to kill Republicans to watch their children die. So this is a time where Trump can really just prove to us, show us, and just test him on how well is he doing? How's it going? Let's have this interview. Let's sit down. Let's discuss. Let's reassure the American people. But that doesn't happen. Now, why did those politicians win in the midterms? Well, it's because, in my opinion, it's because of the shutdown. Because in the states like Virginia, it affects quite a lot of people, especially up north, because they either work for the government or they're contracted by the government, and so they're out of job because of the shutdown, which Democrat officials did on purpose for a various number of reasons that we could get into, but we already have, so I'll divulge. I digress. I think it's also because people just have a feeling that something isn't right. Something's not sitting right to the American people. And so that's why we lost some of those really key, important elections that, me and countless other people wish we would have won. But I feel that people just are looking at things, especially the economy, and going, something doesn't pass the sniff test. It's not really giving off the vibes that things are going well. Prices still remain high. Homeowners insurance is high. Health insurance is high. And although inflation is pretty stable right now, it's still too high. So are interest rates. The job market is bad. Americans are suffering because of it. Credit card debt is extremely high. Wealth is down. It's just an overall tough situation for Americans to be in. So you fast forward to the interview with Laura Ingraham. Trump's given the floor to ease our fears and concerns, to set records straight, to prove to us that things are actually going well, to kind of, rest assured, we got this, we got you, the American people, go America, MAGA, right? And what does he do? Well, this is what he does. I want to watch this video. So this is what Trump does during the interview with Laura Ingraham.
MAGA folks are not thrilled about this idea of hundreds of thousands of foreign students in the United States. We have about 350,000 Chinese. One point during COVID, you were going to, push to, get them out, but that was pulled back. You've said as many as 600,000 Chinese students could come to the United States. Why, sir, is that a pro-MAGA position when so many American kids want to go to school and there are places not for them, and these universities are getting rich off Chinese money?
Sure. Never said about China, but we do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have, China and other countries. We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. And if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what?
Well, I think that's a big deal.
Are they fans
You would have the
of the United States?
Yeah, but you would have, as you know, historically, black colleges and universities would all be out of business. You would have a system of colleges and universities would go
So we're
down the
dependent on
tubes.
China to keep our
No, not
university
China,
system going?
but I think it's good to have. I actually think it's good to have outside countries. Look,
So in the interview, he's asked, because if you didn't know this, I'll backtrack and kind of shed some light on it. Trump, during his campaign, wanted to cut the number of students from foreign countries that are attending college and universities here in America in half. He eventually got to the point where he said he just wants to ban all of the Chinese students from coming to school here for a reason, because, this was part of the trade war that we were having with China. And so Laura asks him, what does he actually think about the Chinese students? And he says that instead of banning them like he did before, or that he promised he was going to do, or that he wanted to do, he does a complete 180 and says we are going to allow now twice as many Chinese college students to come to America to study. He claims that it's vital that we have them come to the school, come to the universities here to keep them alive and to keep them in business. Now, I want to focus on something specific that he said, and then, of course, explain and talk about it all. He says in there that he could do that, and he says perhaps to make some people happy. Who are those people that he's referring to? Well, it's his voters. It's me. It might be you if you voted for him. Those are the people that he's referring to. Those are the people that when he says, well, perhaps it might make some people happy. Yeah, I think it would. I think if you won the popular vote, and that was one of the things that you were running on, and one of the things that people voted for because they supported when you said you were going to do that, I think that's probably something that you should do. Now, I'm not anti-foreigners coming to America to study. What I am, though, anti is not putting American students first. And this is what it boils down to. Trump says he looks at colleges and universities, he looks at it like a business, that we need Chinese money. We need foreign students' money to fund and keep these universities alive and in business, because if we cut the number of foreign students and didn't allow them to come here, we would see a lot of these universities go out of business. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's true. I think, at least you could tell me, that a tuition-paying student, regardless of where they come from, if they're paying the money to go to school, that money then funds the university. So it shouldn't matter where they're coming from. China, India, Mexico, Russia, America. Regardless of how the university gets money from its students when it comes to paying tuition, they're going to get money, they're going to stay in business, they're going to be fine. Plus, in my opinion, I think fewer universities and colleges might be a pretty good thing. Hear me out. Fewer colleges means degrees mean more because there's less opportunities for people to get degrees. It becomes more competitive. It also means that colleges who depend on the foreign money to exist, they cease to exist anymore. Let them go out of business. If we have to survive on foreign money for these universities to be in business, probably shouldn't be in business. Plus, to put everything on top, we have a job market where the majority of students who have a college degree don't work in the field that they have a degree in. I know countless friends, family members, people I've talked to when I was attending college that don't work in the degree or in the field that their degree is in. And I'm sure you listening to this, you know somebody as well. It could even be you. So that's the whole point. And that was the whole point of why voters like me voted for Trump to cut foreign students from our universities. It's to put the American student, the American child going to school first. If a foreign student takes a spot at a university and in their role, it means that an American student gets a spot taken away from them, that they no longer can go to the university because a foreign student got that spot. 600,000 students from China, what would that do? Well, it would probably mean that a lot of American students aren't going to college next year, aren't going to college next spring, next fall. Why? Because the spot that they're trying to vie for is being taken by a foreign student. So they won't be going to college next year. Now, here's the thing. America has a high level of human capital. What do I mean by that? We have a high level and a high population of people who are ready to learn skills, be trained, and to start working. We have the people, we have the talent, we have students and kids who are ready to go to school, to pay a lot of money in tuition, to learn skills, to learn trades, to learn anything that will then help them turn around, provide for their families, provide for their future, and to make America great again. The whole point of going to a top university, the best college that you can get into, is to make it so that you're more impressive to a company when you graduate and you get out into the open job market. So when foreign students come in, and this is why I'm not a fan of that, when foreign students come in and they take a seat at a university, they're not just coming here, getting an education, getting their cap and gown, grabbing their diploma, shaking the dean's hand, and jetting off on the next flight back to Hong Kong. That's not what they're doing. They're then staying here and taking a job and a future career from an American student who just graduated. They're not just coming for school. They're staying here after their degree, and they're looking for work. They're taking away the American dream from an American. Now, I'm all for immigrants coming to our country the right way, the legal way, building an American dream, making things happen, working hard for their own success and for their future and for their family, helping to make the country great again, helping to provide and ultimately make something of their new American dream life. I'm completely on board with that. But when foreign students come here and they take away the American dream after taking away a spot at a top university or just at a college in general from an American student, because that to me is wrong. The American dream is to do exactly that, to study hard, to have your parents put you into good public education or private education so that you can get to the point where you've studied hard enough to get into a university, a good college, to pay a lot of money towards your tuition and towards your fees, to then graduate with a degree in a field where you can go get a job in, to find a job that's great with great salary, good benefits, to then get married, buy a house, start a family together, and to upgrade your life, to go from lower or lower middle class to upper middle class, or even to the upper class, to the rich class. It's to make your life better. That is the whole point of this. But when Trump says that I could put these people first, right? Perhaps I could do that to make some people happy. When Trump says that, but then says, well, what about the colleges? What about the universities? What about them staying in business? They wouldn't go out. They would be fine. They would have to change their model, their business model. They might have to lower tuition. They might have to make some cuts. They may not be able to spend millions of dollars on a brand new football stadium or basketball court, or they might have to cut some opportunities on campus, but they'd find a way to survive. Besides, like I said earlier, the last time I checked, American money works just as good as any other foreign country's money when it comes to paying the tuition. So when Trump says that, that's the American people, once again, and it's a tale as old as time, drawing the short end of the stick. Being put into the category of, perhaps I could do it to make some people happy, but I'm not going to. Perhaps not. So that's why I get a little heated and I get a little, like I've said before, glass half empty kind of attitude that the MAGA movement is dead. It's been dying, but now we've kind of gotten to the point where it's dead. But then, in case you thought the interview got any better, it doesn't. And this is what happens next. So Laura Ingraham asks Trump about the H-1B visas. Now, if you don't know what that is, here's a quick spiel. They come from the 1990 Immigration Act, and the whole goal of the H-1B visas was to find ways to fill jobs that require specialized skills where employers couldn't find Americans to do. So the employer needs somebody with high level of specific skills. Not many Americans can do it. What do? We offer a visa program for foreigners to come to our country, gain the skills, gain the knowledge, then be able to work for that employer and be able to have the opportunity to stay here in America. But now what's happened is it's turned into something that completely doesn't benefit Americans at all. Now what happens is employers use it for cheap labor by forcing Americans to train and help catch up to speed immigrants who then get fired, and the immigrant stays on at the company because they now know the skills, they've now learned the specialized things that they need to perform this job. And then the employer wins because that employee who's from a foreign country relies on that job to stay in America. So what does the employer do? Well, he maybe cuts the wage or the salary in half or by a substantial amount. Maybe he doesn't give as good benefits to that employee. Because why? Well, that employee needs that job to stay in America, or else they're going back to India, back to South Korea, back to China because they no longer have the ability to work. So Laura Ingraham, in the interview with Trump, asks him about his plans for the H-1B visas, and this is his response.
Like what we have right now.
And does that
the
mean
Republicans have to talk about it, Laura.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands
of
foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we
a
have
country
plenty of talented people
no,
here.
You don't. No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put you.
How did we ever do it before?
Well, I'll give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing. It's very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion.
Did you catch it? Did you miss it? What happened during World War I and World War II here in America? When it came to manufacturing and the development and the production line of producing anything for the war, for Americans here at home, what happened? Well, you had Americans here at home that didn't have the skills necessarily at the time step up. You had the great movement of the American female, the working class female, come to the aid and go to the supply chain, the supply line, and make ammunition to build tanks, to build trucks, to be able to produce food so that we could send it to our troops on the front line. That's what you have happen. Americans step up. Now, this is what happens and what is happening when Trump goes from, no, you can't go to college, to now you can't get that job, and even more, you can't do the job because you're not talented enough. He repeats himself. We don't have talent. No, we don't have it. ICE raided a meat packing facility in Kansas because there were illegal immigrants working there. And what happened the very next day? You can look this up. It's a true story. I'm not making it up. You can look it up. What happened the next day? You had hundreds of small town American citizens. They wrapped a line around the meatpacking plant, waiting in line to be able to interview or put in their resume or apply for a job. The very next day, that's what happened. Of course, in my opinion, Americans want jobs. If we've seen anything in the last couple of weeks with the government shutdown and how many Americans we have living off of the government, we need jobs right now. Now, sometimes we get told, well, Americans are too lazy to do the poor man's jobs, like picking the crops or cleaning hotels or being in the food service industry. Those are jobs we don't want to do. So therefore, it's probably good that we have a few illegal immigrants from various southern countries to be able to fulfill those jobs. But then on the flip side, we also get told by Trump in this interview, well, we got to bring in some foreigners that are a little smarter and talented than the American citizens because they, the American citizens, can't really perform or execute or complete the highly sophisticated jobs that are needed. So we'll just bring in the talent. We'll just outsource that. We'll just find it from somewhere else. Both of those things aren't true. They're not. Americans, in my opinion, aren't afraid to work. There may be some who are. That's a different discussion for a different day. Americans will rise to the occasion, will stand up and will gladly, those who need jobs, gladly take an opportunity to work. Especially in this economy, yeah, they'll work. Make America Great means that nothing has worked, is currently working, and we need to fix it. Make America Great is a movement of the government can't fix it. They don't really have the answers to the solution or the solutions to the problems that we're facing. The private sector doesn't have the answers either. And so we need to overhaul and bring it back. That's literally what the word again means. Means to repeat it, to do something for a second, third, fourth time. So when Trump promised all of these things, we were promised a new energy, a new lively president, a new perspective to help America, to help Americans, that we, the people, would stand together, that we would build it back, that we would build America back and make it great again. But now we're being told by that same president who promised all of those things, we're being told, well, he can't do it. He can't do those jobs. They require too much talent. We're told that we don't have that talent. We're told that Israel's more important, that wars in Venezuela and the Middle East, those are necessary, that it's way more important to put lobbies, both foreign and domestic, and donors first, to put big tech and big business before the American people. Now, you have to understand why this has happened and will always continue to happen. It's because of donors. When Trump first started his campaign back in 2015, he funded it himself. It was a small group of people working with Trump, and he mainly started his campaign and continued growing his campaign through Twitter. And it was an energetic and lively time because Trump was different, right? He was exciting. He was ready to take it on. And to me, even though I didn't vote for him in 2016, mainly because I wasn't in the country at the time, it made sense for Trump to be the next president because he wasn't a career politician who was corrupt. He was somebody that was looking at America like a business. I remember talking about that perspective with my dad multiple times. Because Trump's a businessman. America is in its own way a business. It needs to be run properly, and it needs somebody with great experience, and Trump has got that. But then donors get involved. And in my opinion, they poison, and they continue to poison the well. That Trump's plan in 2016 during his first term to go to Washington, D.C. and to drain the swamp didn't really happen. It didn't happen then, and so he promised the same similar things in 2020. The election got stolen from him. We then got 4 years of Biden/Obama in the basement/Kamala Harris leading the country into a horrible direction. And then we were re-promised by Trump that if we vote him in a second time, if we vote for him a third time, all of those promises will be fulfilled. We have to remember what our goal is. Why are we here? Why are we voting for somebody to be president? Why are we voting for anyone to hold a political office in our country, both local, state, and federal government? Why are we doing that? We're voting for somebody to put us and to put our country, America, first. What we need is a real leader. One who can be in control, somebody who is smart, who can come in and do exactly what needs to be done, which is to clean house. To put in his cabinet that will actually do stuff that's with people who have the same vision, the same likeness, the same common goal, to put America first and to make stuff happen, to make the country that we live in better and truly make it great again. That's why we vote. That's what the goal is. When you go down to your local library, you go down to your local public school, you go into the gymnasium, you get behind the booth, you close the little curtain, you vote. You fill in the circle, drop in your ballot, and you get the sticker. That's why we do it. To vote somebody in office who will actually do what they say they're going to do. Not just on day one, but on the final day that they hold office. That's the goal. Now, I don't care anymore about the argument that Republicans are better than Democrats. Now, although that might be true, right? Well, it was better to vote Trump in because he's the lesser of two evils. It's either him or Kamala Harris. Yeah, that sounds like a fair argument, but it's not anymore. There's a reason why it's called the left and the right. And if you haven't seen why, or you're not clearly waking up to why that's the case, it's because they're the same bird with just the left wing and the right wing. If both parties are killing America and the American dream for Americans, one's doing it on a 5-year time frame, the other one's doing it on a 15-year time frame. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Who cares? They're both doing the exact same thing. They're both killing the American dream. They're both not putting America first. They're both not putting the American people first. Now, I say all of this doom and gloom and glass is half empty and let's be pessimistic. I say all of this to get to my final message, which if you've gotten this far, I appreciate. If you've gotten this far and I've pissed you off, I appreciate it. If you've gotten this far and you disagree with me and what I've said, fine. Great. I welcome it. But I say all of what I just said to invite you to do something. I invite people to be ready, to go to school, to educate yourself, to become involved in politics, however you want to be involved, to be a Swiss Army knife in skills and in labor and in ideas and thoughts, to be involved, even if it's at the very basic level of politics. So that when the day comes that we have somebody who runs for office, who is ready to put America first and to put Americans first, you are ready to be involved and to help take back our country. Now look, I know right now it's hard. It's hard for me too. This time that we're living in, this life in general, it's not easy, and it can feel at times, especially now, like we don't know who, we don't know what or where to turn. My invitation to you is to turn to Christ, to turn to Him, to turn to your Heavenly Father who loves you more than you could ever know, to turn to your Savior, to give your life to Him, to accept Him, and to not give up. Don't ever give up. Don't quit, no matter what. I had a conversation yesterday with a dear friend of mine, and he said something to me that stuck out, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since he said it. But as we were catching up over the phone, as we were talking about life, both of us recently in the last year becoming homeowners, talking about our families, talking about work, providing for those families that we have, we talked about the difficulties that come from all of those things: work, being a homeowner, providing for your family, living in this country, the economy. We talked about it all. And he shared this with me. He said, it doesn't get easier because you did something. It gets easier because you continue to do something. And that's my invitation to you. To continue to do it. Continue to show up for you, for your family, for your future family. Continue to be a voice for truth. Be a light as we're challenged in the Bible to be both salt and light, to not just change your environment, but to completely make it better, to not just be in the world, but to make something of your time in this world, to be a safeguard, a lighthouse, a safety for those in your life, to be involved, even if it's just at the smallest level, to be awake to what's going on. You can't live in this world and not be aware of what's happening politically. I think the time and age that you could be living a life where you're kind of naive, where you just tune it all out, I think that's behind us and it's past us. And I think that the people, us who are here on earth right now, who are here in America right now, we're here for the reason of we're supposed to be involved. We live in an age where there's so many distractions, so many things that can catch our attention, that can consume our lives, that can distract us from what's actually good and beneficial. And I'm the first to raise my hand and say, I fall victim to those same distractions. I'm not perfect. But what's important is that you educate yourself. What's important is that you don't give up. It's important that you continue to show up. You continue to do those things that will improve your life, that will make your future family, your current family, or your future self amazingly, incredibly grateful. I want to end on this. And of course, I'll share a few final thoughts. This is a post on social media that I saw. So I'm going to read it as if it's my own, but it's not. It's written by somebody who I follow. His name is James Owen. And he says the following: ever since Charlie was murdered, a veil tore in this nation. Heaven started appointing men and women the world never expected. And hell began assigning demons the church was never prepared to confront. Two kingdoms moved at once, one in glory, one in rage. You can feel it in the air, the trembling, the pressure, the tightening of the times. This isn't political tension, it's prophetic contraction. A nation groaning because something is being born. In my spirit, I know this. The years ahead will carry the greatest culture shift America has ever seen. Not a whisper, not a wave, a reckoning. Truth rising, lies collapsing, altars breaking, hearts dividing. Everything hidden will be dragged into the light, whether it wants to be or not. You don't prepare for a moment like that with opinions. You prepare with obedience, with concentration, with repentance, with courage that costs something. Because when God shakes a nation, he starts with the ones who claim his name. Prepare your homes, prepare your spirits, prepare your callings. Prepare your children for a generation that will know war, not the kind fought with bullets, but the kind fought with truth, purity, and authority. The days ahead will not favor the lukewarm. They will expose them. But they will vindicate the faithful, they will crown the courageous, they will reveal the remnant the prophets saw from afar. If your heart is stirring reading this or hearing this, it's because heaven already marked you. You were not born for calm waters. You were born for the storm that purifies nations. Stand your ground, fortify your spirit. The shift is coming, and you are meant to lead it. Now, that's better than any way I could have said it, but I echo the same idea and the same truth. You're here for a reason during these tumultuous times. Maybe the MAGA movement isn't dead. Maybe it is. Regardless of how you look at it, in my opinion, who cares? So what? What I care more about is, are we Americans living in a country that we feel we are the priority? Because at the end of the day, pick up our founding documents. We, the people of the United States. It's us. We have the control. And although I, nor you, nor anyone listening to this may be the ones that are in office in Washington, D.C., in your local offices, writing policies or putting into law things that are going to make America great or not make it great, regardless if we're the ones that are doing that, we're electing officials who are promising to do that, but aren't. So now's the time to prepare yourself, to become involved. Hell, it's the exact reason why I started this whole podcast. It's the exact reason why I continue showing up twice a week to record, to educate myself even more so that I can hopefully turn around and educate you who's listening to this. If you educate yourself, if you become involved, if you remember why you're here, if you remember the creator who sent you here, and if you remember what our common goal is, to make America great again, to make sure that America and its citizens are provided for, looked after, and taken care of first above anyone else, regardless if they're our ally, regardless if we get anything from them, regardless if it's a I scratch your back, you scratch mine. I don't give a rat's ass. If it's not America first, I don't want it. So maybe MAGA and that movement is dead. But what movement isn't dead? The America First movement. And there's an increasing number of young voters and young Americans who are coming around to that harsh and stark truth. And I hope that I've laid enough evidence for you to also believe that that's true. It doesn't matter the movement as long as the movement can fulfill the promises that were made. But if it's another pull the wool over your eyes and we're actually not going to do that, we're actually going to do things that are complete opposite in what we promised, I don't want it. Which is why I'll continue to show up and do this podcast, which is why I'll continue to put my voice out there, which is why I encourage you to do the same. Even if you don't want to get the setup, the camera, the lights, the microphone to post and edit and do all of this, fine. Share something on your Instagram. Share something to your friends and family. Hell, share this. I'd appreciate it. But become involved so that one day when that leader comes, you're ready. We're ready to take back what is rightfully ours, to put America and its people and the nation that we love first. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things. I appreciate you sticking it out with me. We've gone 2 weeks now in a row where we haven't done the best reels or memes of the week, which I apologize for. Last week traveling, this week wanted today to be a little bit more serious, but we'll do them. I'll find them. I'll share them with you. We'll get them out there. But please, if you do anything, I mean it. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Let me know what you want to talk about next, what you want to hear next. But I hope you have a great rest of the week. I hope this wasn't so doom and gloom for you. And I appreciate you if you have made it this far. Have a great weekend. Be safe. We'll see you next week on Tuesday. And we'll be ready to hit the ground running on another week of We the Future. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.